If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Oh, yeah. Still got it. Story number 1. Is there a solution to how companies hire and let go of employees? That means, could the government somehow just magically intervene and give companies money to hire more people instead of laying them off and them having to go find another job? Could there be some solution to this growing problem in capitalism when you go from one job to another? One company disappears, another company steps in. Well, one article in Inc. focusing on employment brings to light some key issues that employers and employees should consider in all this seesaw battling. The article talks about how employers should be more accurate with their incentives for better employees. It means if they want to attract better employees, then they should be, especially the ones who are more qualified, then maybe they should be a little bit more honest. The employer's website could be a key tool in this information, back-to-back information. Now, within the details of this article, it also focuses on how there are jobs out there, but the key for aspiring employees is to search. That's basically one of the main points in this article, basically saying like even in the struggling economy, the jobs are out there. Now, the main point of this article is the fact that it's still hard to find good workers to fit some high-paying jobs. Story number 2. Where are we in the COVID-19 war? Cases are still on the rise, but some feel that we have the upper hand on some states as we try to get back on track in the battle to overpower COVID-19. Big headline. Dr. Fauci says that no coronavirus vaccine will likely be available before Election Day, bringing attention to the matter of the fact that people are still trying to find a cure to the COVID-19 disease, the virus. One report says nearly half of child care centers could be lost during the pandemic. So that's not good news. There's actually been a lot of businesses that have lost their steam in this COVID-19 fight. Some schools are struggling to feed hungry students, according to one NPR headline, after reports have been circulating about how schools have been the main source of some children's ability to get a full course meal. That's pretty sad. It's showing you that there's a lot of struggling parents out there who depend on those schools' meals to feed their children. Some schools gave them out over the summer while schools were closed. So this is a big headline. Peru is going through hell in the COVID-19 war, and the country lockdown. They locked down early, but it left mixed feelings about the effectiveness of lockdowns because they are still having an outbreak even in the reality that they locked down. So keep an eye on that story as well. That's a big headline because it's showing you that there's different strokes for different countries on their strategy to defeat COVID-19. Trump has promised a COVID-19 vaccine very soon, but industry developers have pledged to keep politics out of science, especially the science of creating a vaccine. They want to mainly focus on that. Certain areas are seeing spikes in coronavirus cases. One outbreak at a UK charity soccer game reportedly led to dozens of cases, leaving hundreds having to self-isolate. This story highlights the growing concern with how this virus actually spreads. Story number 3. College students don't seem to be pleased with college at the moment. Now, besides the parties, socializing, college students are not pleased with the way COVID-19 has hampered their school plans and how it's being handled. Mainly, that's the main concern. At Alabama University, tests and cases have been on the rise forcing some campuses to move to online classes only. Some students have also complained about the cost of testing, and also which is they say that it's not affordable for most public institutions. That means mass testing costs money, and it costs money to clean these campuses, which some schools can't even afford already. So that's why story number 3 is such a big headline. Story number 4. Distractions and computer glitches are interfering with the online learning process. There have been reports of software problems, ransom attacks, hosting issues, even in districts with over 200,000 or more students, which many say could be because of increased internet traffic, or it could be something else. But it's clear that parents and teachers and even school districts were not prepared for this. Some parents are even complaining that as soon as they leave their children alone, they get distracted away from their online learning environment. Their priorities online, they get distracted, leaving many with concerns about the online learning process when dealing with younger kids. The story is still developing because it really homes in on the reality that we face when it comes to education issues in dealing with COVID-19. Politico reports that Education Secretary Betsy DeVos will enforce school testing mandates for K through 12 students despite the pandemic. Her main concern is to account for the gap in learning due to COVID-19. She wants to make up that time, that she wants to know what these kids are not learning in that time that they spent away from the classroom. So that's why story number 4 is such a big headline. Well, those are our top 4 stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. So let's waste no time. Walk it like I'm talking. I'm walking like I'm talking. Walking it like I'm talking. Walking it like I'm. Let's get to it. Story number 5. The U.S. economy is taking some huge hits because of closures. One article says that the total cost of closing schools could drastically affect GDP. Now, I know you're probably wondering what this has to do with the economy, but the fact is that 69% of GDP that's accounted for in a country, in a typical country, that means that when people are not in the classroom, that gap could be accountable for 69% of the GDP in a country. That means the future workforce and the present workforce. So if you don't get people in the classroom, that cost could accrue over time. Now that alone could total out to be about $15.3 trillion loss for the United States. Now, to give you a clear picture, I'll try to explain this again. It's like missing an entire year of an accounting course after starting, and then you're released into the workforce, and you quit the accounting course by not finishing it, and then you're trying to recall some things in your memory bank, but you can't seem to get the full picture because you left the classroom kind of early, or you missed out because you were not in class. Now, economic growth is similar because instead of building 3 computers, you may only get 1 computer built because that other worker can't keep up, which would mean that others could lose out because there isn't enough computers made. I hope that makes sense. And that's usually how it works. That's the gross domestic product, all of the products, and without production, you can't get that many products to supply all of the people that need them. So that's why story number 5 is such a big headline. Story number 6, Biden-Trump solutions and problems. Big mystery. Trump says that he is willing to use his own money to get reelected. He has already spent $800 million of the $1.1 billion raised by the Republican National Committee. So this is a big headline. Another headline that deals with problems and solutions. Oil prices are a concern after demand fears and issues on the board have put Saudi Arabia in the headlines. U.S. oil prices plunged 7% last week to $36.76 a barrel. That's big news. One article says oil prices plunged also to 9% in some areas in the past few weeks. The issue in this story is the fact that the world's leading oil producers felt that they had to cut prices. The problem is that demand is low. Some investors may also be betting against crude oil due to traveling taking a big hit because of the pandemic, COVID-19. This story is still developing. One headline in the BBC homes in on Biden's strategy to take money from the police and transfer it to other community programs. This is another problem and another possible solution that some politician or somebody in their circle is dreaming up. So is this slapping the wrists of lawbreakers, people who break the law, and punishing those upholding the law? Or is this just a different form of justice that activists are trying to impose? So story number 6 is a very interesting story, but it really makes you wonder what would happen if you actually started defunding the police. It would be an experiment that I don't think that many people have actually tried, or countries. One USA Today article puts the attention on Black Lives Matter and how the movement could be a game changer in the election. Some analysts feel that it will get Trump reelected. The article goes in detail about how the whole issue is backfiring because it's creating an us against them approach, and many Americans are not happy with that approach. They don't like that. Unity is the key in the United States, especially if you're looking for a candidate that's promoting unity. Big headline. Judge halts the U.S. from detaining migrants in hotels in Texas and Arizona. That's another big developing story. Recent opinion pieces show that Americans are very concerned about Joe Biden's mental health and the fact that the majority of protests have erupted in Democrat-run communities or cities. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Unemployment is a huge problem right now. Big problem. Now that August is out of the way, the job numbers are in. The U.S. economy added 1.4 million jobs according to Axios, but new data in says that the unemployment rate could be higher than 11% according to further review. And that's after further review. Now, this could be a problem for any economic recovery. One Ohio report even claims that overpaid unemployment workers may even have to pay some of that money back. The story is still developing. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week. What new threats should the U.S. be looking out for? Big headline. DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, says that white supremacy is the latest threat to the United States currently, outside of terrorism and other matters. Big headline. Gun sales are surging in some states. Minnesota is just one of many states seeing a surge in gun sales. Some analysts see this as a sign that the majority of Americans feel unsettled by recent news reports and social issues. Big headline. Police officers are facing obstacles because of heightened attention on them. This is after a Nebraska police officer is dead after being shot attempting to arrest a 17-year-old a few weeks ago. That's a big headline. Other stories about officers constantly at odds with suspects facing mental health issues have also been in numerous headlines. one report about the utilization of a special spit hood which is placed over the suspect's head to protect officers from bodily fluids have made headlines and caused some buzz due to how the video of the officers putting the spit hood on the suspect's head is perceived. It looks very brutal, but the people who don't understand or don't look deeper into the story, they may see this as a tactic of police brutality. So keep an eye on that story as well. Another article placing some officers in Utah in the mix also surfaced after it apparently claims that the officer shot a 13-year-old with autism after his mother explained to the officers that the teen's mental state was pretty much out of whack, and the officer still shot him. So this also made headlines. Now these stories are really shining a lot of attention on the police issues, and that's why when you talk about what threats should the United States be looking out for, this is why story number 8 made it to the top this week. Because if you degrade and downgrade the police force, that could be a potential for any crime force or crime team to move in. So that's why story number 8 is such a big headline. It's almost like a strategy. You take out the people who fight and uphold the law, but there's a lot of voices in this fight when we talk about police brutality. But that's why this conjuring up of these stories is causing so much attention, and that's why story number 8 is such a big headline. A pair of officers in Cleveland were killed along with a detective by 2 teenagers, leaving the lasting concern of not only this generation, but how younger Americans are being groomed into viewing the police. So this is a force once looked at as good could also be looking, people now, the kids could be looking out as bad. So this is a big headline, and it's hard to train a mind from that situation. So this is a big headline. An informal deal has been reached between Congress and the White House to avert another government shutdown at the end of the month. This has also made the news, dealing with some of the threats that we need to focus on, and it's also the threat of government shutdowns. So an informal deal was reached between Congress and the White House to avert another government shutdown at the end of the month. So that also made the news earlier last week, leaving a new lasting outlook that the United States may have a deep hole to dig itself out of in all of this craziness and all of these stories that have been making headlines. Well, those are our top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, from the local path to the international path. I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week, and as usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the people on the front lines, the journalists. You deserve all the credit. I'm just a mediator. If you want to show some support, you can visit our website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. I hope you got something out of today's program, and I hope you had a good Patriots Day and a good Labor Day, and I hope you don't forget to remember those who sacrifice for you in times like these. So thank you so much for tuning to the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. I'm out of here. Come back all over again, read 200 or more stories just for you to stay informed. Have a good week, everybody. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.